Yes, my name is Jillian. I'm the founder of Sharks for Kids, and I'm really excited about hosting this episode just because I've known Annie for many years. She's been a real inspiration through her work and just being a woman in a field that has a lot of men in it, and it's not necessarily, especially the film, video, and so has really done some incredible work. She's an award-winning filmmaker, photographer, speaker, educator, explorer, really wears a lot of different hats to really express her love for the ocean and share that with people and inspire them to get in the water. And that's what we're hoping you take away from all of these sessions is to really care about the ocean and to see the different options for getting involved, ways to help. So without further ado, I'm gonna let Annie take over and get started with her amazing photos and videos.
Wait, before you do, I just want to give you a shout out, Jillian, for bringing us all together, for inviting us along. So give up a shark fin for Jillian and Sharks for Kids. I can't believe I'm here with you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you, and I'm looking forward to seeing your talk.
I love it. So let's get started. So you guys, so this is me. I have a superpower, and you can have the superpower too. It's called breathing underwater. This was taken from one of my good friends, Hergen, because sometimes when we're underwater, it's really hard to imagine that I'm there, right? Because you see me here, that I actually am taking the photos and videos that I'm going to be sharing with you. And so I'm going to get started here. This is my camera. It's a camera housing. So I have a camera inside of the housing. And then I have these light and motion lights because we lose light when we go underwater. And so we bring lights with us to light up the scenes for our eyes. Now, so just so you know, you could call me Annie Crawley or Ocean Annie. I feel like I come from the sea, and that's why I'm Ocean Annie. And so this is just a couple of images and a little bit about me if you want to follow along or give me a shout out. Jillian and I decided in Sharks for Kids that we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and take a selfie as we're going through this presentation, or after you've watched it and have time to think about some of the issues that I'm going to be talking about today. We would love to hear from you with the hashtag #SharkStory. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, this is me underwater. It is an underwater selfie. So I took my camera because so many people can't believe that I actually go underwater, especially if I go to a school or a group or someplace and I'm talking on land. And so a couple of pieces of equipment that we need, and that I'm going to encourage you to imagine that you have in your mouth right now, is a regulator. So the regulator allows us to breathe underwater. We need a mask in front of our eyes because we can't see like the sharks. We have to have air in front of our eyes in order to see clearly underwater. And the golden rule I learned from scuba diving that I apply to my life every day is this. Let's see, we have a universal language. I could dive. I know that we have people on this call from all over the United States and all over the world, but I get to use my hands with anybody who speaks any language. So let's see how smart you are. What do you think this means? Oh, you're good. Stop, think, and breathe slowly. So that's the lesson I learned from scuba diving. No matter where I'm at in the world, if I get excited, if I get anxious, if I get uncomfortable, if I'm locked in my house too long, all I have to do is remember the golden rule from scuba diving. Stop, think, breathe slowly, and then act. Now that you've learned the golden rule of scuba diving, we're going to take you on an adventure. And I'm going to take you all around the world today from, let me just turn down the volume of that music, from the Arctic to the Coral Triangle to the Pacific Northwest, where I live right now. And the ocean is vast. the maps are wrong. So when you look at a world map, you're going to see that it's like 70% land and 30% ocean, any world map you look at. But in reality, we should be called planet ocean, not planet Earth. So the ocean covers 70% of our planet and holds most of our water. And when you slip below the surface, you step into liquid. Everything becomes quiet. It is the most relaxing place I've ever been in my life. Ooh, there's me again. So I just love being able to share this with you. You see, if I can't be underwater, diving with the sharks, I like to talk to people about it. I look at life on land as just a surface interval. These are white tip reef sharks, and a lot of times they rest. They're able to rest on the bottom. If they're not swimming, they'll sink. And so this is a shiver of sharks. So awesome. So this is one of my favorite places and favorite experiences underwater that I've ever had. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, but we all know that that is the largest fish in the ocean. So I hope when you're looking at these images, you're joining with me and you're guessing what the names of the sharks are. This is a whale shark. Now you can imagine my surprise when I jumped in the water when we were filming sardines and we didn't even know the whale shark was there. It was absolutely incredible. Now there's great motion in the ocean, and the ocean is underrepresented in our education system, and it's misrepresented often by the media. That's why I love working with Sharks for Kids and talking with all of you about our ocean, because I bet you know some of the answers to these questions I'm going to ask. So think about what connects you to the ocean. Take a deep breath in and out. And in that breath, we need something. Now, if you yelled out air, it's right, we need air, but we need the oxygen in the air. And we learn that the oxygen comes from plants and trees. And so what do? We plant plants and trees to help ourselves. But in reality, the ocean gives us more than 50%. Some scientists say up to 70% of the oxygen in every breath we breathe, and the sea lions and every other animal on the planet, actually comes from the ocean. So the ocean's pretty important in our lives. So the ocean gives us the oxygen we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink. Every drop of rain that falls from the sky or the snow in our mountains, it all comes from the ocean. So I think we could agree that if the ocean gives us oxygen, food, and water, it's pretty important in our lives. And it's so important for everything else as well. Just imagine, we feel good when we're near the sea. I bet you feel good just watching these videos. Are you still imagining you're here with me? Put that regulator in your mouth. It's really important that we understand what lies just below the surface. And so the more you learn, the better it is for our ocean. You know, the ocean is less explored than outer space. We know more about the moon than we do about the deep sea. And so there's this great, in our future, just think about all the different things that you could do with your life in exploring our ocean. And some of you might want to be scientists. For me, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a photographer, and I'm a storyteller. So I love to share stories about the ocean. This is from the Maldives, and it's on a place called, you guessed it, Anemone City, because there's so many anemones there clinging to the rocks. Now, with more than 500 species of sharks and 700 species of rays in the world, and we still don't know if we've discovered them all. There's a lot to still be discovered. So what I'd like for you to do right now is, again, we're going to use our imagination, and I'd like you to get your passport. What? You don't have a passport? That's okay. I didn't have a passport until after college. So pretend, imagine with me that you're coming with these pilots and we're zooming across the ocean. As I said, the maps are wrong, right? Look how much land it's showing. We are going to go and explore the ocean, and we're going to go to the South Pacific right now. And it's vast, it's beautiful. I love dreaming about what lies just below the surface. So you can be on the boat here with Mason and Jamie and Tasha, and we're looking for whale spouts, and we're looking for birds diving into the ocean. So when we're going free diving, a lot of times we're looking on land to see different motions on the ocean to see what we're going to see down below. So here's me on the boat, and of course it's my favorite place to be right before I go into the water and I slide in. And again, it's just so incredible. So when I jumped in, we saw this school of sardines. So a lot of times when I do presentations and I talk to people, they always want to know what my favorite experience is. So this was one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. We were filming these sardines, and lo and behold, a whale shark came through. Now, whale sharks are filter feeders, and I filmed whale sharks all over the world, from Galapagos to Indonesia to the Philippines. But on this day, we were in Colombia, and what was going on was we were waiting for sailfish. That was the journey, was we really were trying to find this sardine run that had not been documented before. And so I was on an expedition, and it was so exciting when this whale shark came through the school of sardines, and it was a juvenile whale shark, and it kissed my camera. I couldn't believe it, but it kissed my camera. And so this was one of the best experiences. And I was free diving at the time. So that means I didn't have my scuba tank and my regulator with me, or my BCD. I only had my mask, snorkel, and fins. And so that was a pretty cool experience. Now, I have to tell you, in my life, I have to practice patience, because there's a lot of places that I still want to go that I've never been before. But we have to make a plan. We have to research about those locations, and then we get to do them sometimes. So this is what I was hoping to find, but I only saw these sardines and these sailfish last year. It was a dream for me. I was diving with my friend Jay. I specifically went, remember, on different expeditions looking for sardines to find these amazing striped marlins, and we found them here. So I'm going to share with you some of my favorite video from this to take you there and show you what it feels like. Because even though these aren't sharks, there were mako sharks around, but the mako sharks were really, really, really shy. And so they didn't come up to us the way these striped marlins did. And it was a pretty cool feeding frenzy. So here you can see that this is real time. So this is showing you how fast these striped marlins move, and they're chasing the sardines. And it was so incredible to watch, because they take their sword and they literally pick the sardines out, and then they gobble them up. They spear them. We watched them spear 3 at a time. It was so cool. Now, I know Jillian gave a fantastic presentation on adaptations for sharks, and you could learn all about the saw sharks that she talked about, which are, these fish have developed this type of adaptation to feed in the world. There's literally thousands and thousands of different kinds of fish in the world, and this is one of my favorites. So I wanted to put this in here to share it with you, because it was pretty exciting. Now, this is half speed, so you can see what I'm talking about how they use their shish kebab-like sword on the top of their head to pick off the fish. So I thought I'd get this presentation started with, ooh, did you see that? It sliced it right in half. Ooh, I love that. You know, fish do a few things underwater. They feed, they try not to get fed, and they reproduce and they rest. Of course, schools of fish and sharks are some of my favorite animals to dive with. Or imagine right now that you're gliding on the back of a manta ray. I know those two little fish are remoras on top of them. They look like handles that we might want to grab onto, but we can't touch the animals unless we're working with scientists and taking samples of them. So here I thought I'd show you a little bit about me and what I do. So that's me, and I'm doing what we call a back roll entry, and that's how we get in the water off of boats. And this video stopped for some reason, so I'll keep it going. So this is a little bit about what I do, diving with sharks and different things, but I also put down my cameras every year. This is me with a humpback whale. Let's see. So this video is not playing right, so I'll just keep going. But I also, so I go underwater, I take photos and videos, and I create stories. And sometimes I create projects with publishers, and I have quite a few books on the market. We're working on one other one right now called Planet Ocean, why the ocean story is so important in our lives. But I have a lot of different materials. But more important than that is I thought I'd give you a little history. So this is me as a little girl. Which one do you think I am? If you're guessing the girl in the yellow, you're wrong. That's my cousin Julie. Everybody always guesses that I'm the girl in the yellow. It's almost like a premonition. I'm the little girl with a seahorse on her bathing suit. And this was my first swimming pool in my backyard. I was born and raised in Chicago, and I didn't see the ocean until after college. And now this is my swimming pool. I travel around the world with a camera in hand, and I document different animals underwater. Now, I love all the animals in the ocean, not just sharks and rays. I do like humpback whales as well. So this is a baby humpback whale. It's about a ton. And my good friend, Steve, who's a photographer, his name's Steve Woods, he took this photo of me. And it's really funny, you know, a lot of times as photographers, we don't get pictures of ourselves when we go underwater. So when one of our friends gets a photo or video of us, it's pretty exciting. But more than me, I want you to imagine you're here. I want you to imagine that you can do these things and travel our world, because our ocean needs you. Our ocean needs you to be her voice. This is a mom and baby humpback whale. And how I said to you that I'm so excited to work with Jillian and Sharks for Kids and to bring this to you, you know, there's presentations online, and we have them on our YouTube channels, on our websites. We have hours and hours and hours of entertainment for you. And we're hoping to inspire you to be the voice for the ocean, for sharks, for your favorite animal, because without you, our ocean has no voice. And so we need you. So I believe you can do anything. If I was born and raised in Chicago and I didn't see the ocean or learn to scuba dive until after college, just imagine what you could do. You already know more about sharks and rays than I did when I was a little girl. And so I really hope to inspire you that anything you dream through hard work, through connections, through your network, through being on this webinar with us, that we support you and we believe in you and we know that you can do anything. And so with that said, I'd like to introduce to you a couple of kids on my dive team. These kids learned to scuba dive when they were 10, 11, and 12. Now, you might be younger than 10, 11, or 12. Well, the first step for learning to dive or snorkel is learning how to swim. And so keep using your imagination. And one day you too will get to use dry suits and dive in cold water. We'll get to use wet suits or board shorts and swim with humpback whales in Tonga. And so whatever you imagine, you can create as your reality. So for me, my whole life changed when I learned to scuba dive, because scuba diving taught me the unbelievable was real. Do you eat calamari? That's what you're eating. This photo is of a squid. For me, I don't eat my friends. I like to take photos of my friends. Now, this is another good friend of mine. His name's Edgar. And you know how you play hide and seek all around your house? That was my favorite game when I was growing up. One time I hid in a closet and my brothers didn't find me for like 2 hours, but I didn't come out until they found me. So here I was swimming with giant mantas in Socorros, and I played hide and seek with Edgar. So we have a lot of fun when we go underwater. In reality, these giant mantas love to feel the bubbles all over their body. So you know how you might like to get your arms tickled? Well, these giant manta rays like to get their bellies tickled. Isn't that crazy? It was so fun to do that. We were actually working with scientists, and we were taking samples of the manta ray's skin to see if plastics bioaccumulate up into the manta rays. So a lot of times the different expeditions that I do, I work with scientists and different groups and organizations. I also different jobs that you can have that maybe you might not work in the ocean, but you could still be ocean minded and think about our sharks and all the other animals. So here is a stargazer. I also call them a stick out your tongue fish. After they've had a good feed, they rest in the ocean, and this is a hairy frogfish. Hairy frogfish are very special. They are fish that fish for fish. So they have an esca, and they take it and they lure it out, and then they gobble it up whole. Purple, hairy, squat lobsters live in pink barrel sponges. And then there's pink pygmy seahorses that live on pink sea fans. And the males get pregnant. Now, I know you love sharks and rays, but unless we talk about the entire ecosystem of a coral reef, then we don't understand why certain sharks live on coral reefs. And so these are reef sharks. On our surface interval, we had a bunch that had come around our boat. And so what we did was we jumped in the water on mass snorkel and fins. And these guys were right below the surface. Now, from a photographer and film point of view, it's a beautiful place when you get no wind on the surface and you get these reflections of being with sharks. And I love swimming with sharks. But this, my friends, is one of my favorite sharks. This is a wobbegong shark in the carpet shark family, and they are ambush predators lying in wait, and they look like the coral reef. Now here, I'm going to show you some video, and this is from the Coral Triangle. So I'd like to talk just a little bit about the different kinds of coral that's on a coral reef. We have soft coral, and then there's hard coral. And so soft coral is feeding in the ocean currents. Hard coral are coral reef builders, and those are the structures. So you could see the coral reefs. Now, reefs are just a small part of our world ocean, but 25% of all ocean animals that we know of today make coral reefs their home. And so what happens is these coral reefs are really important because they're homes for everything like the pygmy seahorse and the purple hairy squat lobster, but they're also home to many different kinds of sharks. Oh my gosh, and turtles, another one of my favorite animals. So this is a hawksbill turtle, and it loves to eat sponges that live in the dark cracks and crevices. And there's other fish that come around. Here's the frogfish that I talked about the esca. This is taken in the Philippines with my good friend, Mike Bartik. So you can see the esca, he throws it out and he shakes it around, and he's hoping, like we like to fish, that another fish is gonna come along after his esca and then he swallows it whole. These are flamboyant cuttlefish. Next to sharks, I think I really, really like cephalopods. So this is Daria, and she's a scientist, and she's working on a whole new photo and video technology that hopefully we're all going to be using one day really soon. She literally takes the water out of underwater using a mathematic calculation on the computer. It's pretty cool technology. I'll have links and stuff to all my friends who I'm talking about in this presentation later, or I'll be sharing out their work as the weeks go on. These are ornate ghost pipefish. The female is the one holding the eggs. This is a wonder puss. And so all of these animals living together on the reef make up the coral reef ecosystem. But this is what we've all been waiting for, the woebegone shark. So I was actually leaving the deep and coming up, and this woebegone was swimming down to find a place on the reef to settle in. And you could see, and I'm going to show you a couple pictures after this. Here's where he finally settled. And this is another woebegone shark we found, but this one was feeding. The other one was just camouflaging into the reef to look like the reef. Did you see that? Or did you blink your eye? So all of these different animals swimming together are why I love the ocean. And I hope that these photos and videos inspire you to learn more about coral reefs. Scientists are learning more and more. We're even looking at sponges and coral reefs to help heal us for medicine. So that's just a little bit about that, but I want to show you, this is the woebegone shark. And so can you see it in this photo? When you squint your eyes, you can't see it at all. And you have to understand that the predator-prey relationship works with how we see things underwater. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit and show you. Here it is. Oh, there it is. So you see it right there in the middle of the frame. And this is what it looks like when it goes closer. I'd like to keep moving on, or as we say it in the ocean, we just keep swimming, because I'm going to share with you just a couple of other locations of some of my favorite places that I've been. Now, people use all different kinds of technology now to study the ocean. This is a satellite tag, so it's pretty incredible how many different people come together to create the different, like, satellites in outer space is what we're using to study the ocean. And so maybe you want to be an engineer and create different kinds of technology to help the ocean. And get this, what do you see the most in this photo? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different, 9 different cameras or camera parts in this picture. So photos and videos are really important for science right now. Also, microscopes, oh my gosh. The teeny tiny microorganisms are really important to the whole picture as well. So from phytoplankton and plankton all the way up the food web, it's really important how these interact. So I put this video in because I want you to imagine that you are an explorer. Maybe you're a photographer, filmmaker, maybe you're a scientist, but we're at quest. So I'm going to play some video, and I'm going to ask you, what do you think? See these yellow fish on the front of this nurse shark's nose? I want you to look, and I want you to be an explorer right now. So we are going underwater, and we're making a night dive. So it's really fun to go night diving. I know that might scare some people, but it doesn't scare me at all. As a matter of fact, sometimes I turn off all my lights, like I did just now, to see what was going on with everything around me. So what happened was, we're on a night dive, and we were specifically at this location. One time I saw more than 140 nurse sharks come into this bay to settle down. And this dive site is called the Circus. If you look on a world map and you find the Maldives, this is where we're at. So here we're at night. So I'm going to ask you, what have you learned from Sharks for Kids about nurse sharks? What have you learned about shark adaptations or ray adaptations? Or what have you learned about fish? Well, even if you haven't learned anything, which I know that's not true because we are really smart when we put our ocean caps on. So we see that the shark's a bottom dweller. It's lying flat on the bottom. We see it has, how many gills does it have? That's right, I said 5 gills. But it's got these fish that usually are on the front of its nose when it's swimming. But what do you think those fish are doing there? What do we know about fish? In order for fish to stay healthy, they need to feed, to hide from predators. They need to get cleaned sometimes. What do you think is happening with these fish around these sharks? And then look at the shark's fins. Look at how bendable they are. Now, sharks' fins are incredible. We know all about the different kinds of sharks because we already had a presentation on sharks' fins, but you could see how they're thicker on the surface here and they're thinner at the bottom. But these sharks, what are they doing with these fish? Are these fish getting clean? Are they hiding? What are those great big-eyed jacks doing behind them? If you watch closely, what is the shark doing? What are they using? And what's happening here? So a lot of times what happens is people will set up cameras, and now with camera technology and all of the different uses for media, people are able to set up cameras underwater and record long sequences in ways we've never been able to do before. So the increasing in technology is helping us understand the ocean more. So keep watching and keep guessing because I'm not going to tell you what they were doing. We're going to talk to Jillian about this once she comes back on at the end of the presentation, and we're going to cover this in the Q&A. But I want you to know that your ideas matter. What you think matters. What you do matters. And your ideas are important. Sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes we make guesses and we're wrong about what we've thought about. That's where research comes in. That's where past knowledge comes in and future knowledge. We've learned from scientists as part of this webinar series and other photographers and filmmakers who are working together that they're literally trying to use technology to discover where other ships are giving birth. Because because we know so little about where sharks are giving birth. And it's really important that we understand the wheres and the whens of this because we need to protect those waters. So it's up to people to protect these areas. So we're going to get back to this. So hold your questions, hold your thoughts about this for another couple of minutes. I just wanted to get you to become scientists today and discovers and get your ideas thinking. I'd like to share with you a little bit here about my backyard. So this is where I live. These are sea lions, and we're diving in the Pacific Northwest here. The water's a little bit greener here than it is in other places because of phytoplankton. If you're smart and know your sharks and rays, you know there's another family of fishes, the chimera family, that is a cross between bony fish like these cabezon and sharks and rays. And there's a whole presentation in a few hours about those fish. Pretty cool. Those ones are ratfish here in the Pacific Northwest. This is an eelgrass bed, and eelgrass is really important to the ecosystem here. And we're just learning that it sequesters carbon in the atmosphere even better than trees. And so the underwater gardens that we have are very, very important to take all the carbon and the pollution that's in our atmosphere and help take it away and break it down. We've all heard about climate change and carbon pollution going into our ocean. Our ocean takes the carbon from the atmosphere and processes it out. But because in the last 50 years, we've produced so much carbon, the chemistry of our ocean is changing, because how it's 70% of our planet and it's absorbing all of the carbon from our atmosphere, it can affect all of our shelled animals. This is a lion's mane jelly. It's really cool to swim with. People are sometimes scared of jellies, but just like sharks, you could get really close to jellies. You could get really close to sharks without them trying to do anything to you. Like, they just float in the ocean. We just have to be aware of their tentacles. This is my friend Abby. She's diving with me, and this is Alex and Santi. And did you ever think that sea stars could grow a meter across? They like to eat clams. Yes, they like to eat clams, which are shelled animals like crabs, and here are ratfish. These ratfish are pretty cool. They usually live in deep water, but every fall here, they come up from the deep and they take advantage of some storms that happen. Mussels get from the storms that the mussels are hit by on the pier. They fall off, the crabs come up and eat them, the ratfish come up and eat them, and then we get to go and explore and get to learn about them and get to film and photograph them so we could share them with you. So look at how dainty this is. So none of these animals, the crabs, the mussels, the ratfish, or the sharks and rays, would be healthy in our ocean if there was too much carbon in our ocean. And so right now, we all have to think about, what can we do to reduce our carbon? What companies can we call? What organizations can we contact to join the movement to help our ocean stay healthy? It really starts with us understanding and learning. This is a giant Pacific octopus, and look at those colorful creatures. Those are scallops. And so the GPO, that's what we call them, GPOs, leave their dens and they go and they collect things and then they go back. This is a wolf eel. One of my divers, Tommy, he filmed this wolf eel come up to me. It was pretty cool. So you could see that all of these animals together need us in order to help them. So we're almost to the end of our time, that I'm going to get Jillian back, and we're going to talk about being a shark scientist. Not yet, Jillian. We're going to be 2 more minutes or 3 more minutes, and then I'll get you back on. But I just wanted to go over one other really important part of our ocean. A lot of people don't get to dive below the surface, but this is some other things. So we have some big issues that are facing our ocean right now. But I know you and I, working together with Sharks for Kids, and all of our teachers and our parents and all of us working together, we can come up with some solutions. And so when a plastic bag goes into the ocean, it breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces sometimes, and other times it gets eaten because people mistake these, or animals, mistake these as food. Kind of crazy, right? You would think that they would know the difference between plastic and a jelly, but they don't. Because if you were a turtle and you saw this is a jelly, this is a ctenophore, but that ctenophore, if you look in its belly, it has a lot of microplastics in it. And then if you look and you saw this jelly and you saw these bags, you wouldn't know the difference between the jelly and all these bags. And we know that sharks eat turtles too, and we know it affects the entire food web. And so we need you to understand that this is really happening in the world. And these colorful animals, the squids that sharks like to eat, that the birds like to eat, if the birds eat the squid and think it's and they can mistake it for plastic, they get sick and die. This is my friend Claire Fackler's photo. And this is really going on in our world. We're hearing about whales dying from the plastic. And so plastic is, and this was the craziest dive I ever made. I've been working on plastic for about the last 10 years, since I went out to the gyre with scripts and did a whole book and a whole series on plastic pollution. And I want to share with you that this used to make me sad, and it still makes me sad. It's okay for us to be sad about what we're doing to our ocean. Our ocean would be okay without people, but people won't be okay without a healthy ocean. And so we need you to be a part of the solution. We need you to think about what can you do. So we're working with students all over the world to clean up our world, not only plastic pollution, carbon pollution, noise pollution. We need a sustainable world because I know we are better than this as a society. I know that you care deeply about our ocean, or else you wouldn't be here with us today. And so kids like this are doing cleanups all over the world. This is our dive team in the Port of Edmonds in my local community. But this is really happening, and I don't want us to be afraid of it. I want us to be empowered with our imagination and our reality, because our dreams make our reality and our future. And you all have a lot of dreams. So I want you to take a 30-day challenge to stop using plastic for 30 days. I want you to work with your parents and your teachers and think about what you can do in your cities and your states, in your communities around the world. And you are the voice for our ocean. People listen to kids. We need you to stand up and to get an idea and to share your story with us, because we want you to see this magical world and document it with your cameras, with your mobile phones, with your devices, and we want you to share your story. And we've come up with, if you hashtag Shark Story, that you could share it with us, and we're going to help you share your story to a larger audience, because there's a lot of things in the ocean that don't belong. This is creepy baby doll. Oh my gosh, isn't it creepy? Kind of looks like Chucky. Ugh. We don't want that. And we've got to clean up our ocean. So we have to stop the flow of pollution. But it's all pollution: plastic pollution, carbon pollution, noise pollution, because we want a healthy ocean. We want you to tell your story about it. We want you to take what we're teaching you and what you're teaching us, and we want to work together. For the ratfish, for the whale sharks, for the manta rays. We need you to be the voice for sharks. We need you to be the voice for our ocean, because without you, our ocean has no voice. And so your voice matters. We need you to join our team. And so I'd like to invite Jillian back on the line so we could talk about this stuff and come up with a plan of sharing these stories with everybody.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. And I think it's
Oh,
really
wait, I have to turn your volume back up. Okay, I'm here.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think it's really amazing. And I think for all the students watching, yeah, we're definitely getting some students. Yeah, you can go ahead and should be able to, there we go. We definitely have students watching. And I think it's important, whether we're talking about shark conservation or plastic pollution or climate change, that everybody can do something. And no matter where you live, we are connected to the ocean. So I think it's a really wonderful message. And I think it's, yeah, the very simple things that you can do in your daily life or ask your parents to do. And it really makes a difference. And it might seem small, but if everyone is taking that small action, that small step, it adds up to a lot of people really quickly.
Yeah, and you know, Jillian, I'd like to point out something, because I think sometimes we get sad, when we see about things. But 10 years ago in 2009, when I went out to the garbage patch with Scripps, and I came back, we didn't see islands of trash twice the size of Texas. We saw something worse. We saw plastic in every single tote that we did. And so what I learned from working on that was that we have something that we call plastic soup in the ocean because of these microplastics. And we're learning that the clothes we wear shed plastic as well. And so now that we know this, we have great power, because we can be the change. And so everything starts somewhere, and we're hoping that it starts with all of us working together. And even though we need to do individual actions, we're encouraging you to join our team and to become a stronger voice, and to know that the individual action can only do so much. The real part of that is we hope that it raises awareness with you, that you know that we have to change corporate and public policy around how our world views ocean and plastics and carbon pollution. So it takes all of us acting individually, but joining together with groups and organizations and other ways that we can make a difference together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think one of the things, if you guys want to share your shark story, you can put it on social media with that hashtag. You can send it to Annie. You can send it to Sharks for Kids, and we'll share these. We want to see what you're doing, and it will inspire others. So we'll work on a way of getting those photos, videos, poems, anything you create, get creative. We'll work on sharing those because it's really important, and it will inspire other students. So all right, I'm going to jump into some questions because there's really.
Yeah. So did anybody answer the question about what the nurse sharks were doing with the pilot fish?
We did have somebody say, I think the sharks are protecting the fish from others, or the fish are trying to help the sharks, was one of the guesses.
Isn't that great? So the stories we tell ourselves kind of matter, right? So can I share what the end point of that story was? So when I was filming it, I was literally down, like trying to get under the shark with my camera like this, and like trying, because when I saw it for the first time, I was like, what is it doing? And I really didn't know. Like I was filming and I really thought, like one of the viewers, that the shark was trying to help the fish. But then I started watching closer after I got the initial kind of first videos. And do you know what was going on? The jacks were trying to eat the fish. So then I was like, oh yeah, this shark is protecting the fish. And then the more I watched it, the more I saw that shark was trying to push the fish up to its mouth with its wing. It was like taking it, and it was trying to go and eat those fish. That's what it was trying to do. It was trying to feed on those fish, and it was like taking it's going.
Sorry. They're very flexible.
I know. Could you believe it? That was so exciting. So thanks for everybody who played along and tried to guess about what was going on there. And that's like how it works sometimes with science. It's like we think this, and then this happens, and we're like, boom, mind blown.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. It just shows you, even if you guys aren't underwater, like Annie mentioned, if you have a phone and you see something cool out in your backyard, a squirrel, a lizard, a bird, depending on where you live, and you take a photo or a video, you can share that as well. So it's all nature, and it doesn't have to be underwater. But obviously, if you get a chance to go underwater, it's incredible, right? So thank you guys for kind of, observing that and thinking about that. So the first question we have, which quite a few people have asked, is, do you have a favorite shark?
Oh my gosh. Whatever shark I'm with is my favorite shark. Like, okay, so I was thinking about this, and when we put these presentations, when everybody puts presentations together, like you're always like, oh, what do I put in? What do I leave out? What do I put in? What do I leave out? And oh my gosh, it's so crazy. I just realized when I was putting this one presentation together, I could do like 10 presentations on sharks and rays just on their own. Like I left out so many of my favorites. There is one shark that I absolutely love, and it's called the walking shark. And I was like, last night, I was so upset with myself because I didn't have any video prepared of the walking shark. So maybe next time we'll make sure we get in the walking shark.
Somebody asked if you had ever seen an epaulet shark. Actually, A. Ruth asked that. So I guess that you have. Can you tell us, where were you when you saw the little walking shark?
So it's where you and I met. in Indonesia. So I saw that when we were in Indonesia. So they are night sharks. The kind of epaulet shark that's in it was in Raja Ampat, which is an area of Indonesia that where scientists believe coral reefs began, and from there it's a spiral effect out. And so there's times 25 species in the Coral Triangle than there are in the Caribbean and Florida. And so it's a very, very rich place, and they come out at night to feed. And so I've seen walking sharks out at night feeding. And I actually filmed them last year when I was with my friend Eddie on Pendito in Raja Ampat. And so like that was one of my missions. And that's when I filmed the wobegongs was last year as well. And we were able to set up our cameras on tripods. And then I'd leave my camera set up so that the fish would come in closer to the shark. And that's how I was able to sequence and get those, the wobegong sharks feeding.
Very
so thank you for your question. I love walking sharks.
Do you have another, aside from sharks, do you have a favorite ocean animal in general?
Well, whatever one I'm with. It's so hard to choose a favorite animal. I did mention I love cephalopods, but like I like the whole feeding behavior that happens in the ocean. So like my favorite thing is to be like filming an octopus and then like a shark comes up and eats it, or or a frogfish throwing out its lure and then it gets a fish. So I'm a behaviorist. So more than a favorite animal, I think I really like observing and spending time in the ocean with the animals to the point that we get to look at the behavior of the animals.
Yeah, it's amazing. And sometimes I talk to people about sharks having personalities and they go, what do you mean? That's impossible. They're just all sharks. And when you spend enough time with an animal, and you talked about having patience, and you spend that time and you watch and you wait and you become part of their world, you get to see personalities and behaviors and the life that they have. This is an incredible world, and it isn't just simply a fish swimming by or a big whale swimming by. There are beautiful little moments in the ocean that are constantly happening. And if we just, take a minute and sit there and watch it, it's incredible what unfolds in front of you. And you really appreciate how intelligent these animals are, their social structures, their lives. And it doesn't take long. And you guys out there, go in your backyard, watch squirrels interacting, or I have some iguanas and lizards in my backyard. And so, yeah, you can kind of see, or even neighborhood cats. Is there kind of a structure? Is there a leader? I mean, any animal you see, wherever you are, just pause for a moment and watch it. It's not just sitting there, right? It's going to do something.
I'd love to add in there. So remember, everybody, I didn't see the ocean until after college, or learn to scuba dive until after college. And when I was 10, I actually was not scuba diving, like many of you think I might have been, or like some of my dive team scuba dives. I was climbing trees. I was going into nature. The woods was my happy place. I was always an observer. And it's really funny how I talked about stop, think, breathe slowly, applying to my life. So when we're underwater, the reason why Duncan and Jillian are such great people underwater is because they're not bubble blowing monsters. I'm not a bubble blowing monster. So if you move quick and you breathe quick, the animals all go away. So the key really is to become quiet and not obtrusive in nature, and to really watch and observe.
Absolutely.
Whether you're in the tree like I was, or walking in your woods, or in your backyard, like Jillian said.
Yeah,
it's really great.
You can see amazing nature no matter where you are.
Yeah.
And today, since most of us we're stuck at home, right? Check out your backyard. This is a great time that you might just be busy all the time with school and projects and this and that. And maybe you don't go out and just stop in your backyard, but maybe eat a meal out there. Sit out, and for those of us who might be older watching, have your coffee or your tea sitting outside. And I think you'll be surprised at how much you might actually see no matter where you live. So, great. Do you have a favorite animal or a favorite moment that you've been able to either see, maybe you didn't get to film it, but you got to see in the ocean?
Oh, one just happened. What was it? Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have to be honest with you. I pushed forward some of my favorite moments in the ocean into the front part of my presentation because everybody always wants to know what's my favorite, like what my favorite moment is. It's really, really hard to explain that when we live on this gravity part of planet Earth, how special it is when you step into liquid and you go into the world. And my very favorite moment is when I slip between the air and there's this thin line that separates us from the water world. And that is my favorite moment in time, is it slipping between land and water and being very present and looking from just below the surface to just under the surface, and then opposite, looking from down like this. It's this magic, and it's so bizarre how it happens, and it's just below the surface. That's my favorite place.
And it's exciting too. I think it's exciting that we're not equipped to be in the ocean. We are land animals, but through this equipment, and we get to be in that world, even if just for a few minutes. And it's really,
and even if you don't have magical fins, you could see this in your swimming pool when you go with your goggles, this place. And you know, if you're like Jillian and I, we have these special gills right here.
I wish, man, if I could have one super.
We are aqua women. Move over, aqua man. We are in the house.
Absolutely. And somebody asked, is diving hard and is filming sharks hard?
So if we asked a little kid who's 1 year old, is walking hard? I bet they would say yes, because they're stumbling all over the place, right? And so diving, if when you have a patient teacher, when you're learning to dive, everybody learns different. Just like in your school, when you're learning how to read, everybody learns different. So for some people, diving is super easy. When they go underwater, like kids like Daniel and other kids that I taught, when they go underwater, they feel like they're home. But it doesn't mean that they weren't challenged. So for me, scuba diving teaches you confidence. It teaches you respect and responsibility. And there's so many other parts of scuba diving, but it's a learning process and you take baby steps. You can't go from learning to dive to filming sharks overnight. So through training and experience and through continuing education, we go from open water to advanced diver. We learn how, think about this. When Jillian and I go diving, we have to learn how to navigate. We use compasses underwater. If you don't know how to use a compass on land, we can't do it underwater. You know, you are lucky. You all have these mobile devices that you get to use now. This makes you a photographer and filmmaker. You have it in the palm of your hand that you get to start photographing and filming on land. Because if you can't do it on land, you can't do it underwater. And so by the time that you're at a position that you're a diver, that you're diving with sharks and swimming with rays and all of the other ocean animals, you're competent and confident in your skills. And so I would say that with everything in life, that there's steps that you take, that you don't become you don't become it overnight, and you have to have patience with yourself, and you have to know that I'm still learning and growing every single ocean situation that we go into, and it could be one of the reasons why everybody that you've been hearing about in this webinar series, why we love it so much, is because even though certain things remain the same, everything is different. It's kind of like that with life too. Like we have these ideas, but then we get thrown a curveball, like what we're all experiencing right now. And we have to know that we could change and we can adapt. And I think that scuba diving has taught me how the ocean is different every day. Our lives are different every day, but there's certain things that remain the same. And one of the things that remains the same is that our ocean is going to be there for us. Our ocean is going to be okay without us. We have to know that we can't live without a healthy ocean. And so the reason why Jillian does everything in her power to bring Sharks for Kids to all kids around the world, and that I'm working with her and other people to bring ocean awareness and to put you as part of the solution and you as part of the love and the passion, because when we love something we protect it. And so I really hope that you understand that this is our life's work. Like we're communicating with you because we want it to be your life's work as well. We need a healthy environment in order for us to be healthy. Like, so whatever you need to do to take the steps. And like my mom, she tried diving, but it's not for her, but she does everything she can to share everything ocean with her world. So maybe diving isn't for you. Maybe you'll wait 10 years before you do it. But it's important that anything that you do, anything you dream, hard work, education will get you there. Your connections, like Jillian and I met, years ago, and your network, the people that you meet, there are no accidents in this world. There's a reason we are all connected. And there's a reason you're listening today. You've listened to Jillian and I's story, but we want to hear your story. People need to hear your voice. Without you and your voice, you influence different people in your life. And so it's all of us working together to create the world and the healthy blue planet that we want to see. Really important.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, I'm excited. And again, guys, just to kind of finish up that, yeah, we want to hear your story. We want to see what you're doing, whether it's a craft project, again, a video, a photo. There's so many ways to get creative and share your love for the ocean.
And remember, people listen to kids. We need to. That's why we're working for you, right, Jillian? That's why we're doing it, is because we know.
Great. Well, thank you so much to everybody who joined us today, who sent in questions, and a special thanks to Ocean Annie for sharing her passion, her stories, and love for the ocean. And we look forward to seeing all of your shark stories soon. So thank you guys for joining us. Everyone have a wonderful day.